All right, how's everyone doing? Good to see you all here. I think, as the moderator, I'm supposed to take a moment. So if you ever talk to anyone from Taboola, I use this time to give you a dazzling pitch about our product. All right, but I'm not going to do that.
You can.
No, it's about you guys today. So I'm happy to introduce Andre and Jennifer, working at PepsiCo and DoorDash respectively. We had a great chat last week. Excited to share a little bit about that today with you, and the space, the very similar space that they both work in. So let's hop in. Let's see. All right, so you both work in merchant-facing roles, right? Yeah. So I think what'll be most interesting for the crowd here is to hear a little bit from each of you, kind of quick high-level summary of what you both do. So Jennifer, I'll ask you to start.
Sure. Also, you can really smell the barbecue over here. I don't know if anyone knows that.
We're right by the pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I run merchant brand marketing at DoorDash. Merchant, because it's not really a human speak word, if in case you want to know. Small business owners and restaurant owners primarily. DoorDash, of course, primarily in restaurant, but could be pet stores, flower shops, you name it. So it kind of spans and includes everything from traditional brand marketing that we're all very used to really trying to figure out how to help merchants grow their business at large. I tend to think that can you hear me? I tend to think that DoorDash's special sauce is technology. So I look at my job as how can I enable technology to work for merchants? So anything I can do to help them grow, any shape or form that becomes. So there's a huge staffing crisis right now, in case you were not aware. Labor shortage, trying to figure out, is there a way technology can play a role there? Can I add value? Tornado hits part of the country. Can I figure out a natural disaster relief fund? It spans a huge gamut. So anything that involves helping merchants, that's where I come in.
Awesome, yeah. And so my name is Andre, and I lead our digital lab team at PepsiCo food service. And so what we do as well too as the digital lab, we are working with our customers, in that case merchants, right, across workplace, dine, travel, play kind of environments. And we are helping them and our brands also accelerate how we use data, how we use technology solutions, and just how we also talk to the consumer and listen to the consumer in the digital space. And so we work closely with DoorDash, we work closely with a number of partners, just really focusing on how can we actually understand what the consumer need is, what the customer needs are, and then address the consumer through the customer.
Awesome. Thank you, both of you. Andre, I understand you founded an agency earlier on in your career. So I'm really interested to hear what your experience as an entrepreneur taught you that's relevant in your life today in this role in PepsiCo.
Yeah, so this was, even if I go back a little bit before that too, right? So I, as an immigrant, twice over, I feel like you have some things that are at your core, right? And one of the things for me is just that process of observing, learning, adapting, but still having your own identity, right? And so you're in new environments and you are observing what's going on. You're learning how to be and how to act, but you still are yourself, right? And you're still acting that way. And so my agency, when I started, it was really all about market entry and the digital space and helping businesses from overseas or from different parts of the country to go into new spaces, to go into new areas, to understand the consumer in that space and kind of mold themselves to be most effective there. And that's essentially what we still do, and what I still do at PepsiCo, and a lot of what we still do every day, right? It's taking brands that are really well known and have been around for a long time, whether it's our own brands like Pepsi and Do, or whether it's our customers like KFC or Taco Bell or Buffalo Wild Wings, and being able to have a conversation about just, okay, we now have significant growth in the digital environment, right? And we have new channels, we have new ways that consumers are wanting to interact with our brands and with our companies. How do we do that while still being ourselves, right? And so our team now, it focuses very much on being half of the team is a center of excellence. So developing those best practices globally and really helping all of our global marketing teams and our marketers that work with our customers to understand how to best execute. And then the other half of the team is actually executing also innovation and different test and learns and pilots within PepsiCo. So a lot of learning, observing, and acting while still maintaining that brand identity.
Awesome, thank you. Jennifer, we spoke earlier in the week, and you mentioned that throughout your career you'd often been more consumer focused in your responsibilities, and this is obviously not that. It's more B2B in nature. So what would you say were some of the things you learned in that transition? What changed? What stayed the same? And maybe what surprised you, if anything?
It's far more complicated. For starters, I will say that if anyone is in consumer, which I have been up until now, and has any inkling or an itch to scratch, try it. It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly rewarding. You will learn a ton, and it's a wonderful different perspective. I'll tell you kind of my philosophy in general for B2B. I think if any of us here in Austin right now or anywhere are doing our job correctly, it's all human to human, right? It's not B2C, it's not B2C, or anything else. We have three-sided marketplace, so it's not dashers either. It's none of those things. It's human to human. Represent your brand as a human. Talk to people like they're humans. I think the second we start to kind of confine people and categorize them as their job, you lose sight of who they are. And then you're only talking to them as this one little thing, and you're not really understanding them. I think people tend to think that B2B is more rational, less emotional, and consumers very emotional and less rational. It's always a balance between those things. And maybe it's because it's merchants, I think I get to challenge that. Restaurant owners are incredibly passionate, potentially the most hardworking community, or one of, in the country right now. They're putting their blood, sweat, and tears into what it is that they've chosen to do. So it's incredibly emotional. And if I stay too rational, I'm not doing that justice. So it's been a wonderful experience. It's super hard comparatively. But I do like to think that it's just a category, right? We say B2B, we say B2C, it's all kind of the same. If you treat it like human to human, you're going to probably end up okay.
Awesome, thank you. And I think that's a great takeaway. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we are reaching humans, and we have to sort of push the same buttons and pull the same levers on an emotional level, on a rational level, and all of the above, no matter what that category is. I think that's very true.
I was saying, I had this, I worked for Kayak for a long time, or I was their agency partner, and in the CMO there used to always say, people are never business travelers, right? They're travelers, and sometimes they travel for business, and sometimes they travel for vacations. The second you think about them in that one little way, you've lost 75% of who they are, and that's always very much stuck with me.
Yeah, that's a great insight. So, Andre, you've given us sort of a high-level view of what the digital labs do. I'd love to hear sort of more specifically what it is that your day-to-day looks like, what you're focused on, and the team that's around you, and what piece of that role you take on.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before too, right, so the digital lab is all about accelerating the way that we're using technology and data, but if we look at even just the last 2 years, right, and the evolution of the digital space for restaurants and within food and beverage, as a global leader in the food and beverage space, right, as PepsiCo, we really shifted the focus of the digital lab significantly, doing two things. One was we're going to continue to look at the future, and we're going to continue to understand what are the future trends, work with our insights teams and work with our data teams to really uncover that behavior that's going to set us up well and our customers well for the next 3, 5, 10 years, and understanding how to enable themselves today for the future. But more importantly, too, we saw a need to better equip our customers for the today, right? And so understanding, one of the things that we did very quickly was just do an assessment of our entire restaurant space and see, okay, is everybody online? Does everyone have a website? Do our customers have websites? Do they have apps? Are they accepting delivery? Are they not? So partnering with DoorDash as well too, and really understanding, okay, how can we help our customers come online? And so, but it's also not just our customers, right? Customers, that's a big bucket. But inside of that, we have a lot of different groups. And so part of what we do as well as the digital lab is understand, okay, where can we provide value? Where can we add value to our community? And identifying communities where there was special need as well, too, for even more assistance. So we work very closely with our Black-owned restaurants and launched a program called Black Restaurants Deliver, where we are offering a no-cost consultancy for several weeks to help them get websites, get online, start accepting orders, but then also to do so in a way that will be sustainable for their business. And we're doing that not just across Black Black-owned restaurants, but many other minority groups as well too. And that's been a really interesting thing as well too. And one of those things that we really take pride in a lot, which is just being able to care for our customers, care for the community, and understand also how we can develop tools and opportunities that help all, right? So one of the other things that we are doing significantly too is a work around menu optimizations and just helping restaurants to understand that you've had decades and decades of development work in creating your space and your physical space and that on-premise dining experience. And you've had a menu that you've worked on a lot. And then you open a bar and you have this bar menu. And then you started taking takeout orders. So you had a takeout menu. But when it came to putting your menu on DoorDash or putting your menu on your website, you just handed one of your print menus over and said, okay, let's put this on there. But is that experience the same, right? It's not. And so one of the things that we've been doing with our restaurant customers is just going through and saying, hey, hand us the keys, we'll help you out, we'll do a whole analysis and audit of it, and we'll optimize that menu. We'll upload better images, we'll actually change the order of things around a bit, and that's really where it's exciting as well too, to see the results in the near term as well, right? And so when I said that we are both center of excellence and execution, we're doing this, we're taking those learnings and then sharing it with our team in Europe, sharing it with our team in Asia, and sharing it in LATAM and everywhere else so that we can continue to execute.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Probably not coincidentally, DoorDash and the Digital Labs partner together, and perhaps that's why you're both here on the stage at the same time. Can you share a little bit about what that partnership looks like, what it entails?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the fact that we're both here together. It's there's a lot of synergy in how we look at customers, right? How we look at restaurants. We actually focus on helping them grow and helping them to be better within the space. And so the great thing is whenever we're having conversations, whenever we have our calls with the DoorDash team and the Pepsi team, it's really all about, okay, what's the next thing that we can do to help our restaurant partners be more profitable, to help them actually have better consumer experiences and deliver better consumer experiences. And so we've done a lot of piloting and a lot of testing and learning of just understanding, okay, what's the best customer experience? So a restaurant getting onboarded and a restaurant really going through the process, collecting data, understanding their business in this new environment. But then also, what's the best consumer experience? So how do we now make people happy and bring smiles to their faces when they're getting their meal, when they're getting their beverage at home, and doing so in a way that promotes a great environment, that promotes an opportunity for people to come back and want to order again.
Got it. Thank you. So, Jennifer, this question's for you. In my own experience, as a marketer, but also at Taboola, we're working with our brands, our advertisers, I've found that QSR decision maker sort of segment oftentimes tricky to target and reach, particularly at scale. So, are there any approaches you're taking that are maybe different, creative, that probably the ones that I hadn't thought of so far?
Merchants are really hard to reach, and I think it goes back to that human to human. They are not a traditional B2B audience, right? They are not sitting at their computer checking their email from 9 to 5 or their Slack or whatever it is. And they're on Zoom. They're out in the world. They're incredibly busy. They're more probably in their restaurant than they even were before 2 years ago. So we do, of course, test more traditional B2B. We see how it works. We optimize. But I try to see just where they are and how we can find resonance. And I think some things we've done have been very out of the norm. We've launched films at Tribeca Film Festival. We put on a lot of events. We have a Main Street Strong conference that we do yearly, and we're actually getting in the cadence of doing things quarterly and monthly to kind of foster a feeling of community with merchants so they can get with each other, because they're not always with each other. And once they do that, they're finding success in that. So we're trying to kind of think outside channels. I am someone personally who, probably not the stage to say this, but we're all kind of over ads, right? And so trying to think of sorry. No. Some of us, traditional ads, old school ads. And so trying to think of how do you push past that? How do you get past what we're all numb to? How do you think outside of those channels? So instead of putting an email in front of someone, how do you put a film, or how do you put an act I think especially with the merchant community, they want to feel that you are a partner. So how do you do something in their community that's going to benefit them and kind of prove your worth as opposed to saying it? I think that that's hugely important in general for consumers too, but really for this audience. And then the other side, the flip to your question, is like, how do I hear them, right? I want them to hear me, and I want them to understand what I'm saying. I also want to hear them, and I need to understand what they're going through. They're having a lot of problems right now, more than they've had in the past decade. How do I know what's changing day to day? So I want channels, not just outward, I want inward channels to hear them and talk to them. So we do listening sessions, like monthly calls, daily, all these things to try to understand what are they up to, what can I do, how can I help, what are they talking about. That helps define, okay, maybe they're not checking their email, but maybe they want to go to an event. Maybe they want to get together and have a networking moment. Or maybe they want to, I don't know, go see a film, whatever it is. So honestly, it's a matter of like, where are they? Where can I reach them? They are not traditional B2B. They're not on a computer. Sometimes they're on the phone, kind of not. Just test and learn. It's a non-answer answer.
No, test and learn is the only answer all the time. Andre, similar question in terms of reaching your partners, your merchants. What kind of channels are you using? To what extent is it digital in nature, or vice versa?
Yeah, we've got a couple of different approaches. So we've got PepsiCoPartners.com, which is our B2B website, and for prospective as well as current customers to go to and explore our products and all of that. But our current customers can order their equipment, can schedule services, can order all of their products through there and have it delivered. So it's very much an e-commerce website in that sense, but we also use that as a channel to communicate with our customers, to share with them promotions that we're about to run. Hey, in 2 months, we're going to launch this promotion for delivery, and these are the products that are going to be featured, right? And we use that also to share assets and give them the latest photography, give them everything that they need in order to be optimizing their presence and to have a better positioning in the space. Then we also have our LinkedIn showcase page where we're connecting with our customers when they are in that environment, right? And so rather than thinking about procurement and thinking about their business from that perspective, when they are looking at everyone else and getting their information and learning, we have our LinkedIn showcase page, part of the PepsiCo food service environment there on LinkedIn, to share what we're up to, share some of the different things that we're doing, some case studies, all of the different things that they can learn from us there. But then the last piece, which I love also too, is all of our local field sales teams. And so we actually have people that are going into the restaurants, that are going into the convenience stores, that are actually going to these businesses and developing a relationship with the operators, developing a relationship with the staff. And for us, that is immensely valuable. And so my team actually, just 2 weeks ago, we hosted a workshop where we brought in those field sales teams as well too, to just say, hey, you tell us, what are you hearing? What do they need? What's going on, right? And so we do these on a regular basis so that our marketing team, so that our innovation team is actually very deeply connected. Our first, after I joined PepsiCo, our first offsite as a team included actually going on a route and going to visit restaurants and walking in there and spending some time getting to learn what's going on. So that, I think, is one of the most important elements that we have. And so we're constantly educating our field team as well too, of, hey, here's the latest thing that we're doing. Here's a pilot that we're running. If you think that this is interesting for one of your customers, let us know and we'll take it from there, right? Because one of the things too is we can't expect everyone to suddenly be a digital expert and know how to talk about everything and anything. So we make our team available to them as well too, of like, hey, if you're talking to someone and they need help with something digital related, call us, right? And so that's that last piece of the communication.
I mean, I think that ties in really well with what Jen said. It's not B2C, it's not B2B, it's human to human, and I think nothing really drives that home better than face-to-face communication, because someone that's a vendor becomes a person, and there's a relationship there at that point. So thank you for that. Let's see, notes. Question for both of you. Both of your teams sort of occupy relatively unique roles. I don't think you'll find roles like these at every organization. How does your work fit in with other marketers at DoorDash, at PepsiCo? To what extent do you coordinate and align sort of, overall objectives and make sure that you're all pulling in the same direction? So I'll ask Jen to go first.
Sure. Well, I'm a brand marketer, so I tend to think that brand is everything and everything is brand. So I encourage my team to be everywhere. So anything that's happening, I very much want them to have a seat at the table. Luckily, DoorDash is incredibly inclusive, and it's very much like one team, one fight. So I tend to think that, maybe I just lucked out. I tend to think that if someone's not in the room, they're tagged in pretty quickly and to create that seat. But I do think that, it's on my team, especially within tech. Not everyone knows what brand is or why it's important or what it does or of anything. So socializing what we can do, what the value is, and then sometimes forcing your way in, but hopefully you're welcome, to be involved in everything. I really do think it's brand's responsibility to be in absolutely anything going on, whether it's marketing or advertising or not. That's on me to make space for that.
Yeah, and for us, digital is at the core of everything that our brand marketers are doing, that our customers are doing as well too. So it becomes a very easy connection to work with all of our teams. But just to give examples as well too. So last year, our Pepsi brand team came out with our Better with Pepsi campaign, right? And so that was a fantastic moment to talk about how Pepsi is just better with burgers and better with food. And it was a really great campaign. And one of the conversations we had internally was just, how can we actually take this experience to a whole nother level? So we had the privilege of partnering with the Pepsi brand team and thinking through, okay, what are some ways that we can bring this experience into the food service side and in that digital space? And so one of the needs and one of the tensions that we had been hearing from customers, from restaurants, is, hey, what's this whole thing with ghost kitchens and virtual brands, right? And so together with the Pepsi brand team, we partnered to launch Pep's Place last year. So we did a month-long pop-up, the world's first fast beverage restaurant, right? You pick your beverage first, and then we worked with our culinary teams to actually create a menu that was entirely matched to the specific Pepsi that you were ordering. So if you picked a Pepsi Wild Cherry, here is the specific meal that goes best with that. Pepsi Mango, here's the meal that goes best with that. From all the tones and the food and everything that you're going to taste, this is what's going to accentuate it. And for us, that was a great opportunity to showcase also how our team works across the organization, but also with our customers, because we executed this with a customer that actually was very interested in learning about the ghost kitchen space and the virtual brand space. So we got to actually test execution. We got to bring a new experience to consumers and kind of be the digital lab, merging that gap between brand and customers.
Awesome, thank you. So this is maybe a little open-ended in nature, this question, but I'm curious if there's sort of a North Star, a guiding principle that you try to keep sort of core to what you're doing every day, both as individuals and as a team. Mm-hmm. So Jen, again, I'll ask to start with you since...
I think it's all about remembering who you're serving, so who your audience is, and then the value you can add. So again, not to repeat myself, but if DoorDash's special sauce is technology, how do I use that to enable growth for someone else? That's what I know, right? I don't know how to run a restaurant and wouldn't in a million years. So how do I use what I do know to help them and to help provide growth for them? Because that's what we're here to do. So I think that if you do that, you're setting yourself up for success. And then to what we were saying both earlier, know the audience, dive into who they are, talk to them in person, understand them and every single thing about them and the problems that they face. If you can know your value and know your audience, that have that focus, and then you're good.
Yeah, I would say it's customer empathy and consumer centricity. That's basically our mantra. You'll hear this over and over again within PepsiCo because we really believe it, right? It's about being centered and focused on the consumer. What are their needs, and just what are the different occasions, what are the different moments, and really understanding that. But having the customer empathy to also understand, okay, what's going on with this customer? What's going on with this restaurant? How are they growing? How are they not? What are some of the tensions that they have? So that consumer centricity and that customer empathy kind of takes me back also to, we're all immigrants in this digital space, right? We're not most of us are probably not native to digital. So how do we actually come in and act in a way that we blend, we provide value, but we also still bring our own voice, right? And that requires you to be consumer-centered and have empathy for the customer as well, too.